Good morning to all of you.
Good morning, Judge.
Court will note the appearance of Mr. Schaefer on behalf of the plaintiff petitioner and Mr. Smith on behalf of respondent. This matter is before the court on the respondent's motion to terminate the personal protective order that this court entered back on July 24, 2023. I guess, Mr. Smith, I need some clarification. I note that you want to terminate the TPO, and you had stated that, again, the alleged harassment did not occur, but the court was very limited on the PPO, simply saying he cannot enter the premises, he can't assault her or threaten to do so, he can't confront or approach her on a public or private property. So what's his objection to that?
His objection to that is that there's no basis to make any type of order because she, and there's no basis for it, and that includes the case law that I cited that any type of constitutionally protected harassment does not include a constitutionally protected activity or conduct that does not serve or that serves a legitimate purpose. And some of her statements are false, and some of her statements include items that would fall under that heading.
Okay. Well, what we'll do is we'll proceed then at this particular point. Is there anything, Mr. Schaefer, you have before we commence?
Just a quick opening statement, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
This has been a neighbor dispute for some period of time that's gone to litigation and ended up in a easement resolution. But what this petition is all about from my client's standpoint is that it's continuous harassment and gotten to the point of being dangerous. There are 3 or 4 different episodes where he has gone by her in his vehicle, swerved toward her, with the intention, we submit, of trying to hit her. She would go back and forth a number of times. This is the proofs will show that this is substantiated by the yelling and the calling of names, calling her a bitch, calling her other names in that regard. It also includes him violating the easement. That litigation took place where he is placing things on there that the easement does not allow. This is just another form of harassment. My client's effort is to just have him stop the harassment, to stop yelling at her, stop driving by her and trying to hit her. And that's the purpose of this PPO, and we believe that the proofs will verify substantial basis for that.
Okay. Well, I will tell the parties so they're aware of as we proceed. I'm not going to deal with anything with regard to any other injunction or things of that nature. I'm simply going to address the PPO issues and as we go further. Mr. Smith, did you have any opening argument?
Yes, Your Honor. I based on what you just said, you might have already addressed it. With regard to the easement, if there's an allegation that that somebody's rights to an easement have been violated, that is must be addressed in the circuit court. The circuit court has the jurisdiction over those issues. Not only is it improper, but I'm sure that this court does not want to deal with easement issues under the heading of a personal protection order. So she's saying that he's violating my rights to an easement. The remedy for that claim is not a personal protection order. So there's a legal argument in that scenario. We also have a factual defense to that, but this is absolutely not the right venue or the right court to make that argument. Maybe that's what the court was just indicating.
That's what I was indicating. Okay. There's another judge apparently that has addressed the easement issue. I'm not going to intercede on that. If you need enforcement of that, you go back before that judge and seek enforcement of the easement.
Right. And then, Your Honor, with regard to the other allegations, we would deny them, and we have witnesses to support those denials and different accounts. So
That's fine. That's fine.
Have our hearing.
Mr. Smith, you want to call your first witness?
Your Honor, I don't know if I've done one of these hearings in front of you before. Obviously, the petitioner has the burden of proof. We're happy to go first as long as that the court understands. They
have the burden of proof on the PPO, but you have the burden of proof on terminating it. So you can go first.
Well, Your Honor, as a preliminary matter, they have to establish that they need a PPO. Is the court not agreeing in that?
I understand and I agree that they have that burden, but it's your motion, so you proceed on your motion, and then we'll address the underlying issue.
Certainly. Thank you. I would call my client.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. Mr. Wickwire, how do you know Shan Leatherman?
She's my sister.
Okay. And how long have you been living near her?
I have been living in this house since 2011.
Okay. And so my understanding was that this house and the house that Miss Leatherman now occupies used to be owned by your parents.
Yes.
All right. And then at some point they split them into two lots?
Yes.
All right. And then you occupied one of the houses to what direction? Is that the west?
West side.
Okay. We have a map in front of us that we can hold up to the screen so that just to give the court some indication of how things are laid out here. These properties are on what lake?
Graham Lake.
Okay. And on what side of the lake?
The southeast side.
Southeast side of the lake. Okay. And then at some point, your parents were living next to you?
Yes.
All right. And then your parents died?
Yes.
All right. And then your sister ended up occupying the house that was right next to you?
Yes. She moved in 3 months ago.
Okay. Have there been times when your sister has come on your property?
Yes.
Okay. And do you believe that she's allowed to do that at this point?
No.
Okay. And how have you responded when your sister's come on your property?
Told her she's trespassing.
Okay. And how many times over, let's say, the last 2 years have you had to tell your sister that she's trespassing?
Multiple.
Okay. And why do you think she's not allowed to come on your property?
Because the easement says, well, there's two things. According to the easement, she's only to maintain the drain. The drain is not being maintained.
Okay. You believe she's coming on your property for other reasons?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you, we have a map in front of us. Why don't you take this green pen here and show the judge where the property line is between the two properties.
Mr. Smith, are we getting into the easement issue that I said I wasn't going to hear?
No, we're getting.
No, Your Honor. We're not. I think it's important for the court to have the lay of the land, and I will quickly move past this. On July 20th, 2023, there's an allegation that your sister was out walking her dog, and that you saw her while you were driving. Do you remember July 20 of 23?
July 20th?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. She says that you yelled something at her and sped off.
On the 20th?
And July 20th is what she said right here.
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what we were doing on July 20th?
Yes, I was going to the campground.
Okay. Excuse me a minute, Mr. Smith. I'm looking at the allegations in the petition. There's no July 20th date alleged.
Your Honor, I'm looking at her verified statement.
Okay. I see it. I see it now. Okay. Go ahead.
It was my intention to just walk down allegation to allegation off the.
Okay. That's fine.
All right. All right. What can you tell us about that date?
I was going to the campground. I turned on 6 Mile Road, which normally I do go north to go to work, but this time I went to my other job, so I went south. And when I turned off our road, it was about 100 yards. I passed her, and as soon as I passed her, she actually stepped on my property and started walking her dog down the side of my property.
Okay. Did you know where she was headed at that point?
I did not.
All right. So what did you do?
I turned around and told her that she's trespassing, get off my property.
All right. You stopped your vehicle?
I did.
Did you yell something out the window, or did you get out?
I did. I yelled out the window. I did not get out.
Okay. Was that all that was, is just you seeing that, turning and yelling at her to get off your property?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then she makes an allegation about something that happened on July 18th of 23.
Yes.
All right. She says that she was walking her dog and that that she saw you driving towards her. Do you remember anything that happened on July 18th of 23?
I don't even remember seeing her that day.
Okay. All right. And then she makes an allegation about something that happened on June 27th of 23.
Yes.
All right. She said that she was on her morning walk again.
Yes.
And that sped by you with an empty trail. Do you remember what happened that day?
Yeah, I left. Me and my son Ryder, he was actually in the vehicle with me. We left, went to the campground, and then we were doing something down there, came back. I had to go to work, so I forgot my wallet. So I stopped by my house again, picked up my wallet, and then went to work.
All right.
And my son was with me the whole time.
Did you, and how old's your son?
Ryder was 13.
All right. And did you do anything to scare her on June 27th of 23 while you were driving on that occasion?
I did not.
Okay. And she makes an allegation about something that would have happened on June 15th, 2023. She says, I was walking in my yard, that you were continually locking and unlocking your red Toyota truck, and she felt that was you intentionally harassing her by unlocking and unlocking the car. Do you own a red Toyota truck?
I do not.
Okay. Whose truck is that?
That is my son's, Riley's.
Okay. How old is your son, Riley?
He is 16 and a half.
Okay. So I asked you a minute ago whether you owned it. Is it really in your 16-year-old son's name?
It's actually in the shop's name.
Okay. All right. But who drives that truck day in, day out?
Riley does. He bought it with his own money.
Okay. Did you have the keys in your possession on June 10th?
No, I did not.
Okay. So were you unlocking that vehicle to harass your sister?
No, I was gone actually 13 hours that day.
Okay. So you were gone at that time?
I was gone. I don't know what time she put down.
Okay. Well, regardless, whether you're gone or not, was that you doing that?
No.
Okay. All right. She makes an allegation on June 2nd of 2023 that there was a vehicle that almost hit her and her son.
On June 2nd, I don't know anything about it. I wasn't there.
Okay. Oh, with the blowing the clippings. Sorry.
Yes, that one I wasn't even there.
Okay. Who was the one mowing the lawn at that point?
Riley was mowing the yard. He was actually driving my truck. It states that I got out of the vehicle and I wasn't even there. I left at about 8 o'clock. I got home at 7 for about 3 minutes, picked up the kids, and we went out to eat and did not even get back home.
Okay.
Until 10.
So on this June 2nd allegation is about the blowing of the clippings. That's all that is alleged on June 2nd.
Well, she got out, or she states that I got out of my truck and stared at her and some people that she was having installing her cameras, and I wasn't even there.
Okay. But your son was driving the lawnmower?
My son was driving my truck, and because he was mowing our properties, because we got multiple properties, he was mowing the properties. He got home, he sat in the truck and ate some lunch, and then got out, went in the house, and came back out about a half hour later and then mowed the grass.
Okay. Did you tell your son to blow clippings at your sister and the security company that she had over to her house?
No, I didn't even talk to my son.
Okay. There's an allegation about something that would have happened on May 24th, 2023.
Yes.
All right. She says that you and her got into an argument basically right in front of both of your two houses.
Yes.
All right. What's the layout here? You obviously there's two houses that are separated by a property line on the same lake.
Yeah.
All right. Her house is on the lake side, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And your house is actually on the other side of the street.
Yes.
Okay. So you own property on both sides of the street, but you live on one side. She lives on the other side.
Yes.
All right. So she lives essentially on the north side of that street line. You live on the south side,
yes,
even though you own lakefront property right next to hers on the north side as well.
Yes.
Okay. And so where was she when this encounter occurred?
She was in her driveway.
Okay. Does that mean she was on the north side?
I was on the south side, right in front of my house.
Okay. And how did that conversation or that argument begin?
That argument began because my sister started yelling at me. Those, why am I still living here? How come I haven't moved?
Okay. Had you said on that day, had you said anything to your sister before she started making those comments to you when you were at your own house?
I did not.
So when your sister said that to you, did that start a verbal argument back and forth?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And so some of the, she quotes in her verified statement here, she quotes you as calling her various names and saying that you were going to see her in hell. Can you tell us the gist of what she said to you and the gist of what you said to her and whether those allegations are correct?
The first statement was, why are you still living here? The second one was something about her dog barking at her garage, and why is that dog doing it? I'm like, I don't know, because I don't know what's in her garage. And I probably did call her some names because I'm just sick of the harassment.
Okay. So this is essentially an argument back and forth across the street.
Yeah.
All right. And she was the one that started that by making the comment to you first.
Yes.
Okay. Then she makes a comment, the accusation that you played derogatory music as loud as you could until 2 a.m. Well, did you play derogatory music to harass your sister?
I played music, rap. I listen to everything. So who knows what was on my thumbs up.
Okay. Was it your normal playlist?
It was my normal playlist.
You didn't choose particular music that you think your sister would find derogatory?
I don't know what she considers derogatory. I haven't talked to her in years.
Okay. But you didn't choose music to harass your sister?
Nope, I just pushed play.
Okay. Was anybody with you on that occasion?
My wife.
Okay. And was your wife there the whole time?
Yes.
All right. On May 5th, 2023, your sister makes an allegation that when her son was driving her car, that there was almost a time when the vehicles got very close together, and she accuses you of driving. Can you tell us what happened on May 5th, 2023?
I have not a clue. I wasn't there.
Okay. Do you know who was driving that day?
Riley was driving his other vehicle, Ford Expedition. And I guess from what I understand is they met at the top of the hill. It's a private road.
I'm going to object unless she has personal knowledge on it. Hearsay.
Okay.
Then I don't know.
Well, were you driving that day?
No.
I apologize, Your Honor. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine. If he was present or he observed, otherwise it's hearsay.
I agree. We intend to call Riley as a witness, so the court will hear from him.
Regardless, it's still hearsay until you do.
Exactly. I agree. All right. Was that you driving?
No.
Do you know anything about what happened while that vehicle was driving?
No.
She calls that vehicle a jacked up excursion. Do you have an excursion?
I do not. My son does.
Okay. All right. And she makes an allegation on May 6th. She says that you were driving a blue Bronco when she was walking her dog in the morning, and that you swerved at her and the dog and flipped her off. Do you remember what happened on May 6th?
I do. We were actually on the way to a shoot it was me, my wife, Riley, and Riley's girlfriend. We actually did see Shan at the end of the road. We pulled out, drove by. Once we drove by, she turned around and double flipped us off.
Okay. Did you communicate with your sister at all as you drove by?
I did not.
Did you swerve at her?
I did not.
Okay. And again, who was with you?
My wife, Kathy, Riley, and Riley's girlfriend. There was 4 of us in the vehicle.
All right. Your sister makes an allegation on April 30th, putting up poles and obstructing her, and that you yelled at her, "This is my property, and you can do whatever you want." On that occasion, did you make verbal contact with your sister?
I did.
Okay. And was it for any other reason than about the easement on that occasion? Or about trespassing? Or
it was about trespassing, stealing. The cops were actually called on that one. She actually took some stuff off my property that has nothing to do with the easement and took it. The cop told her to bring it back and she refused.
Okay.
And that's the time that she actually called me a lot of bad stuff in front of my kids and my kid's girlfriend.
All right. She then makes an allegation that you had a sledgehammer. Do you remember why you had a sledgehammer?
I was putting stakes in the ground.
Okay.
To get ready to landscape my property.
Okay. And you were staking out what?
I was staking out the property line so I could run so we can mow it and we wouldn't go on her property, because if I touch her property, she does call the cops on me, and so I do not. but I was landscaping and I wanted to make sure that I was far enough away from the drain where I would not hurt the drain.
All right. So with regard to the hammer, why'd you have a hammer?
I was putting stakes in the ground.
Okay, so knock the stakes into the ground.
Yep.
When she uses the word pole, is that what is she referring to?
She is referring to the stakes that I used.
Okay. All right. So it wasn't a pole, it was a stakes that you were.
Yeah, the stakes.
Okay. All right. April 27, 2023. She makes an allegation that you swerved a black Lexus while she was with her dog. What can you tell us about April 27, 2023?
My Lexus wasn't even at home that day, and I did not swerve at her dog.
Okay.
Because the Lexus wasn't there.
What makes you think that your Lexus wasn't there?
I went back and looked at the videos.
Okay. What videos do you have?
I have a bunch of videos from my house of the incidences to find out what we were actually driving, what we weren't driving, what times we were doing stuff, when we were there, when we were not there.
Okay. Do you have a video? You have a security camera that shoots out the front of your house?
Yes.
All right. And then does it also include your driveway in that camera footage?
Yes.
All right. And so now, do you remember what you were driving on April 27th?
I was driving my F-350.
Okay. Is that confirmed by your review of this footage?
Yes.
All right. All right. She makes an allegation that in September of 2023 that you called the township official making false allegations about her. Can you tell us what happened?
I actually did call him. It was actually in the spring, not in September. But yes, I did call in. I was doing comparison of taxes to fight my taxes for some of my properties. And I came across that she was claiming 100% homestead on the property when she was not living there. The house is actually set up as a 3-unit apartment, and she was renting out the bottom, and she had one of the units on Airbnb. So I brought that to the attention of the township.
Okay. And you found this information? Why?
The reason why I found the information, because I was doing tax comparisons from the other houses in the area, so that way I could fight my taxes, and I do it pretty much every year to go through and for all the rentals, because the tax hikes.
Okay.
So you got to have basis when you go to the township. So that's why I was looking at the taxes.
And so as part of you doing that, her property being right next door, you check what she's essentially
paying on taxes.
Yeah.
What
she's valued as.
Yes, what she's valued in, and see if I could use it as a price comparison.
And then when you found that, you reported that to who?
I reported that to Joyce Fugel.
Who was who?
Which is the township assessor.
Okay. And at that point in time, your sister was not residing there full time?
She was not.
Okay. And since that time, has that changed?
Yes.
Okay. Your sister's moved into that full time now?
She stays there a couple nights a week.
Okay. All right.
For the last few months.
All right. And she makes an allegation then about something that happened in late summer of 2022, that you came out of your house charging at her and her lawn service. What can you tell us what happened on that occasion, if you know?
Yes, I do remember that. As I came out and asked them or told them to quit mowing my property, because she was actually 4 to 5 foot over the easement line.
So why did you bring that to her attention then? You felt she was in what?
She's trespassing.
Okay. Right. Did you make any threats on that occasion?
I did not. And then she called the cops and we talked to the cops.
Okay. Were you arrested?
I was not.
Okay. There's an allegation, and some of these, I have things in order, but there's an allegation that's out of order. April 30th, 2023. I guess it's just a continuation of what she said previously. Maybe we're run out of time.
April 30th.
Yeah.
That's the same thing that happened on the 23rd, which is basically it's over the landscaping. She stole my stakes, took my lines down, and the lines were not blocking her from maintaining the drain, because she could step over the line and actually maintain the drains that are plugged up.
Okay. All right. And the last thing is the 2019 incident, which is obviously
2019. My mom was on her deathbed. She needed 24-hour care, and she was not there. Me and my wife were sitting on the front porch, so that way I'd ever keep on walking in and checking on my mom. My sister came home, went past us, went through the first door, went through the second door, because since it's an apartment, there's a hallway. Slammed both doors going upstairs, woke my mom up, slammed the top door, came down and started yelling at me and my sister, then called the cops on us and got trespassing charges on me.
Okay. And since then, your mom has died, and your sister moved into her house, and now this bad blood is continuing with her as your next door neighbor.
Yeah, it's been bad blood since 2008.
Okay, all right. And I think did we cover everything that she's alleged?
There's a couple. Well, there's two other things that happened after the fact.
Did we cover everything that she's alleged?
No, there's one other thing actually that she alleged, that she put the picture or the statement from her shrink in there, which is on the back. But she added it to this letter right here. On that one, it actually happened in 2018. I know it's dated 21, but actually that incident happened in 18.
Okay. All right. No further questions for this witness. I have two.
Mr. Schaefer, any cross?
Yes, thank you. Let's go back down through these again, Mr. Wickwire. On July 20th, 2023, did you in fact yell at Shan?
I did.
And did you drive by her 3 times?
I drove by her 3 times, so that way I wouldn't have did it if it wasn't for her trespassing on my property.
Okay, so you thought she was trespassing on your property, so you drove by her 3 times. Did you swear at her?
I did not. She was actually off the road. She was on private property. So she was actually off. She was on another private road. She was on another private road that was not the road that I was on. I was probably 50 yards away from her.
Well, how close did you come to her when you drove by her the 3 times?
The first time, she was on one side of the road. I was on the other side of the road. The second time I drove by, she was probably 25 feet, 30 feet. And then the third time I drove by, she was about 50 feet.
And at any time, did you aim the car or swerve the car at her?
I did not, because I went up and turned around in my driveway at my other house.
What did you say to her when you yelled at her?
Get off my property, you're trespassing.
Anything else? You call her any names?
Nope.
On July 18th, do you recall driving by her and swerving at her?
I don't even remember seeing her on the 18th.
Do you own a diesel Ford truck?
I do.
Did you yell at her on that occasion?
I did not.
On June 27th, do you recall driving by her on the road near the house?
I do.
And did you swerve at her?
I did not.
And did you yell at her?
I did not, and I also had my 13-year-old son in the truck.
Well, did you yell at her and call her names?
On the 27th? No.
Yeah. On the 6th of June, were you home on the 6th of June?
The 6th of June? We left at around...
Excuse me, the 10th of June, excuse me.
I left the 10th at 10 and came back. I left 10 o'clock in the morning and I came back at 11 o'clock at night.
And did you activate the Toyota beeping sound or alarm?
I did not, because I do not have the keys.
You do not have the keys?
I do not have the keys. It's my vehicle.
Do you recall activating that alarm system on various occasions?
I've never, no. I don't have the keys for the vehicle.
Did you direct anybody to activate the alarm system?
I did not.
You remember June 2nd of 23?
What I remember of that, I left for work at about 10 minutes to 8. I got home at 7, little after 7, picked up Riley and his girlfriend, and we went out to dinner, and then got back at 10:30.
Were you home during the time that any clippings were blown over on Shan's property?
I was not. I was at work.
On May 24th, do you recall calling Shan derogatory remarks?
I do not remember what I said, but we did get in an argument.
Did you call her a bitch and a cunt?
I don't recall what I said.
Would that be unusual for you to use those terms toward her during your arguments?
I don't like her very much.
Well, my question is that uncommon for you to use those terms when you would have an argument with her?
The only times I'd use them terms having an argument with her is if she's slandering me first.
And how many times have you used those terms during your arguments toward her?
I don't know how many arguments we've had.
Well, give us an estimate. How many times have you called her a bitch and a cunt?
A couple.
All right. Is that a reasonable amount?
Honestly, I don't know.
Did you tell her that you can't wait to take all of her shit?
I don't recall. I do know that I remember telling her to quit harassing my kids, videotaping my kids, stealing from me, trespassing on my property, and slandering my business and me.
And was that on the 24th of May?
That's been on numerous occasions, but yes.
And did you tell her, see you in hell, bitch?
I don't recall.
Where was she at when you made whatever comments to her?
She started at close to the house, and she was walking towards her garage.
And where were you at?
I was in my driveway going to the party room in my garage.
What made you feel obliged to use such words against her when she's on her own property?
Because she started yelling at me, why haven't I moved? Why haven't I left my home?
And let's talk about the music on that particular day. You don't recall what you were playing. How late were you playing?
That's not, we were playing till about 1:30 in the morning.
And how loud were you playing it?
I don't know, the house or my building is inside shipping containers, so there's not a lot of sound outside.
Well, who all was there when the music was being played?
Me and my wife.
And was it loud enough to be heard by Shan?
I have not a clue because I was not outside the front of the barn.
You were inside the barn?
I was inside the barn. We did have the garage door open when the cops were there.
Were you drinking on that occasion?
I had a beer too.
Yeah. How were you drunk?
I was not.
Is drinking part of the process when you and Shan argue?
No.
On May 5, were you driving a vehicle that almost hit Shan's vehicle?
No.
Did you hear about it from anybody prior to this PPO being filed?
Nope.
You didn't talk to your son about it?
Didn't know anything about it.
You weren't in the car?
Was not. Actually, on that day, I would have been at work.
On May 6th, do you recall driving your vehicle and swerving it at Shan?
I remember driving my vehicle, but I did not swerve at Shan.
Do you recall flipping her off?
I did not. She double flipped me off, and there was 3 other people in the vehicle with me, sir.
So you didn't flip her back?
I did not.
On April 30th of 23, did you yell at Shan, this is my property, bitch, and I can do whatever I feel I want to?
After she started yelling at me, yes.
Okay, so you did say that. You remember saying that?
I do.
Okay. And Shan was on her property at that time?
She was actually on the easement.
Which she has a right to be on, correct?
She has a right to be on to maintain the drain.
Okay. Okay.
She was not maintaining the drain.
So is that why you yelled at her?
Well, that and she was stealing my stuff.
Did you tell her, you're lucky I don't go after your ass? Did you tell her that?
No, I told her she's lucky I don't go after her for harassment.
Did you tell her we all have to talk to God one day?
We all do.
My question is, did you tell her that?
Yes.
And on that occasion, did you say, see you in hell, bitch?
I don't think I did.
Well, is that an unusual thing that you would tell her in these various arguments?
That is unusual.
Why do you use such language at her? Are you trying to threaten her or intimidate her?
No, that's just how I talk, sir.
So that's a common thing that you and Shan have of arguing, and you using that sort of language?
I try to avoid her.
And do you agree it would be important to avoid each other?
Oh, for sure.
And would you agree that it would not be unreasonable to suggest that perhaps this language back and forth should not take place?
If she leaves me alone, I'll leave her alone.
And if she doesn't leave you alone, what are you going to do?
Well, I guess I should have got a PPO.
You, in the event of the summer of 22, when you said that you had charged out of the house, what was that all about again?
They were mowing 4 foot over the easement onto my property.
And had you been drinking on that occasion?
I have not.
And did you yell at Shan on that occasion?
Yeah, because she was trespassing.
And what did you tell her on that occasion?
Stay off my property.
And what else?
That's it, as far as I remember.
Do you call her names?
I don't think so.
You indicated that you had called the township. You didn't think it was in September, but you thought it was in the spring. Is that right?
It was in the spring because that's when I do my tax assessment.
And did you, in fact, make report to the township in an effort to make life difficult for Shan?
I think everybody should pay their fair share. When you're lying, it's kind of hard to, when you're not living there, why is she getting 100% homestead? She's renting half the property out, and she's married and lives in another house.
So the answer to the question is yes, you reported her because to get her into trouble?
No, yes, because that's the right thing to do.
And was your effort to get her into trouble?
What the township does is none of my concern, as long as she's paying what she should be paying.
I know further questions, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, could I ask for some direction time-wise as to how I get the impression that there's going to be a lot of witnesses, perhaps on both sides. What amount of time is the court allowing for this morning?
Well, probably not much more time because I do have other hearings taking place at 1:15. So,
yeah, thank you.
okay, Mr. Smith, any additional redirect of your client?
No, Your Honor. We have 2 other witnesses, which would be pretty brief.
Okay. Well, why don't we do the 2 that are going to be pretty brief, and then we can move from there.
Your Honor, the first is Riley.
Right, before we do that, I do have some questions of your client, if I could. Mr. Wickwire, I note initially this case was assigned to Judge Yost Johnson. She recused herself. Are you familiar with Judge Yost Johnson?
The only thing I know about them is I heard they lived across the lake, and then we did a spray foam quote for them. But that's about as much as my knowledge.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that she does live pretty close to Shan, I think.
Okay. But you only know her because you think she lives across the lake and you gave an estimate or something, you said?
Yeah, that's about my knowledge.
Okay.
And Rusty is the respondent in this case, my client.
Yes.
All right. And are you familiar with the allegations that Shan Leatherman, your aunt, made?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to direct you to 3 different occasions, and you can tell me what you know about those. The first one is there's an allegation that on June 15th of 2023, that she was that your aunt was working in her yard and your dad was in his house continually locking and unlocking his red Toyota truck. It makes a very loud beeping sound, and went on for quite a while. Who is in charge of the red Toyota truck?
Me.
Okay. And on that occasion, did you have control of that truck?
No, I did not.
Okay. Do you know who did?
No one did. It was just parked there. The keys were probably in the drawer, unattended.
Okay. Do you know whether it was making a very loud beeping noise?
I do not recall it making a beeping noise, but it could have possibly.
All right. Were you there that day?
I do not remember.
Okay. How do you know where the keys were on that occasion?
Because most likely when I get home, I either put them on the counter or put them in the drawer. That way they're out of the way.
Okay. Is that your habit and routine practice to do that?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Were you home that day?
I do not remember.
Okay.
If I was or was not.
All right. Was your dad home that day?
I do not remember.
Okay. If that vehicle was making that noise, do you know how that would have happened?
I would have set the alarm in a different way than I normally do on accident.
Okay. So does the vehicle have an alarm?
Yes, it does.
And I think we've all heard vehicle car alarms when they go off in the parking lot. What happens when your vehicle alarm goes off?
If I set it the way that it does, it will beep anonymously. So it will not. It does it by itself.
Okay. And how long will that go on?
It could go on until I unlock it or lock it.
Okay. So if that vehicle's alarm goes off, it makes noise after noise after noise after noise that we've all heard in parking lots.
Yes, but it's not continuously. It does it once and then it stops for maybe 5 or 10 minutes and then does it again.
Okay. All right. So when you hear this allegation, is this something that vehicle does sometimes, or no, I've never heard it do that. It only does that when somebody's holding the key.
It does it sometimes.
Okay. All right. The next allegation is that something that she alleges happened on June 2nd, 2023. She says that she had a security company come to wire cameras at her house, and that that your dad purposely had you come out and blow lawn clippings into her driveway. Do you remember whether you were mowing a lawn on June 2nd, 2023?
I did mow that day, yes.
Okay. And did your dad tell you where to blow clippings?
No, he did not.
Okay. Do you remember if you did blow lawn clippings in her driveway?
I did not try to, but if they did, the wind had blown them into her driveway.
No. And again, the main part of this allegation is that your dad asked you to do something that your aunt would find offensive. Did your dad ask you to do anything with regard to the lawnmower or the clippings to harass your aunt?
No, he did not.
Okay. All right. And lastly, actually, I'm sorry, I got a few more. There's an allegation that on May 5th, 2023, that you were driving a Ford Excursion and coming the opposite direction or there's an allegation that your dad was driving a Ford Excursion and was coming in the opposite direction of your aunt and then her son, which would be your cousin. Do you remember what happened on that occasion? On May 5th, 2023?
I was driving home from school, and on my way home, we obviously came into each other around a tight curve, and I merged over off of the road towards the ditch to slow down and let them have room.
Okay. So there was a minute there when the vehicles crossed, they were coming opposite directions?
Yes, sir.
Right. And you were worried enough about the proximity of the vehicles that you moved over?
Yes.
Okay. Was your dad in the car at that time?
No, he was not.
Okay. Who was with you?
It would have been either myself or my girlfriend.
Okay. But your dad was nowhere involved with that situation?
No, I believe he was at work at that moment.
Okay. And is your sister, sorry, your aunt calls it a jacked up excursion. What type of vehicle is it?
It's a Ford Excursion.
Okay. All right. And lastly, on May 6, 2023, there's an allegation that your dad was driving his blue Bronco when your aunt was walking her dog in the morning at the corner of Lyman Drive and 6 Mile, and that your dad swerved at her and the dog and flipped her off. Do you remember that occasion?
I do remember that day.
Okay. Who was in the car at that time?
It was my dad, my mom, me, and my girlfriend.
Okay. So 4 people. Who was driving?
My dad.
Okay. Did your dad swerve at your aunt?
No, he did not.
Did your dad flip off your aunt?
No, he did not.
Nothing further from this witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Schaefer, any cross-examination?
Yeah, a little bit. Riley, who have you talked to about your testimony today?
My parents and my girlfriend.
And when did you talk to your dad about this?
When did I?
Yes.
This morning before he left.
And did you talk to him before that?
No, I did not.
Okay. And so did he show you the petition?
I do not believe so.
Or did you actually have a recollection of what happened on May 6th?
May 6th, we were just on our way to a Clay Target shooting event.
Okay, well, how do you remember May 6th? I mean, that's a few months ago.
We were getting ready to leave, and as we were leaving, he noticed her ahead, so he merged over to let her have her room and us have our room separately, and we just focused on the road ahead, didn't acknowledge her, and drove right past.
Well, have you been in the truck with your dad when he went by Shan a number of times?
Yes, I have.
And have you observed your dad using foul language towards Shan?
Not while we were driving, no.
Well, when did you observe him use foul language against Shan?
When they have been arguing on the property line.
And what date do you remember foul language being used?
No specific date, but I know there were many accounts of times.
And what do you recall your dad saying toward your aunt with foul language?
You're fucking lying and such other things. I cannot recall all, but there have been many back and forths of foul language.
Do you recall your dad calling her a bitch?
There might have been a few times of that, yes.
You remember your dad calling her a cunt?
Maybe, yes.
Do you recall your dad saying, I hope you die in hell, or I'll see you in hell?
He has said, I will see you in hell, but not the other one.
Okay. For what period of time have you observed this sort of language going from your dad toward Shan? How long of a period of time?
I'd say ever since 2018 and so on.
Okay, so this is a common occurrence for 5 years in that vicinity?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Smith?
No, Your Honor, not from this witness.
Okay. Mr. Wickwire, you're excused. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
All right. Ms. Wickwire, how do you know Rusty Wickwire?
We're married.
And how long have you been married?
Almost 18 years.
All right. Yeah. And how do you know Shan Leatherman?
She is his sister.
And how long have you lived in your current residence?
10, 11 years, almost.
And how long has she lived in her current residence as a essentially full-time person?
Sometime earlier this year.
Okay. And how long has there been bad blood between your husband and his sister?
Quite some time.
All right. And you're familiar with the petition that she filed?
Yes.
All right. I'm guessing that you have experienced about some of these incidents.
Correct.
All right. As the source, the property line and the easement, is that a source of contention between your husband and his sister?
Yes.
All right. And has that led to verbal confrontations about that?
Correct.
All right. And on how many occasions has there been verbal confrontations in the yard about her coming on the yard? Or
quite a few.
okay. And so that would be on the north side of Lyman Drive.
Correct.
Basically between Lyman Drive and the lake.
Yes.
All right. All right. Then she makes an allegation then on July 20th that she was walking her dog and your husband swerved in her direction. Do you know anything about what happened on July 20th that you would have seen or heard?
No, I was not with him that day.
Okay. What about on July 18th?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. And what about June 27th?
June 27th.
Yeah, you can look on with me that this is her allegation on June 27th.
No, I wasn't with him.
Okay. And what about June 10th?
That day, I know.
This had to do with the beeping vehicle.
Yes. My oldest son, Riley, had a clay shooting event that day. Rusty had already left. Riley and I were getting ready to leave with his girlfriend to go to the shooting event. I believe Riley did get something out of his truck and she was in the yard working, but Rusty was already gone at that point. And then before we left, Riley took his keys back in the house.
Okay. Do you remember, are you familiar with the red Toyota truck?
Yes.
All right. Does it have a vehicle alarm?
Yes.
Is it loud?
It makes a chirping. I wouldn't even call it like your normal obnoxious, but it does chirp.
Do you remember whether the alarm went off that day?
When he got in his truck to retrieve something and then relocked it, and then he took the keys inside and we left in a different vehicle.
Okay. And so
Riley. I'm
okay.
sorry.
And then did the vehicle go off other than the few chirps while you were there?
Not while we were there that I know of.
Do you know if the vehicle alarm went off while you were not there?
I have no idea.
Okay. And there's an allegation that she makes about something that would have happened on June 2nd, 2023.
Mm-hmm.
That your son was mowing the yard. Were you in the home on June 2nd, 2023?
That day I was in and out. The boys only had a half a day of school. It was their last day of school. I was in and out and I left somewhere between 2 and 3 because my youngest and I were going to a concert in Grand Rapids.
Okay. Were you there when he was mowing the lawn?
No.
Okay.
We were already gone.
All right. There's an allegation on May 24th. Do you know anything about that?
Yes.
All right. So I think your husband testified that you were there. Were you there during that incident?
Yes.
All right. And there was some type of an argument between Chan Leatherman, the petitioner, and your husband?
Yes.
All right. Were you there when that argument started?
Yes.
What started that argument?
As we were headed out of the garage that's attached to our house to go to our other garage, we have like a party room up there. She began yelling at him about why we're even still there. Why don't we leave? So they got in an argument.
So those two garages, are they both on the south side of Lyman Drive?
Correct.
All right. And then where was she when she began this argument?
By the time I got to the door, she was like in her driveway area.
On the north side of Lyman Drive?
Correct.
So a little bit to the east and certainly to the north because she's on the other side of the road.
Yes.
All right. And did you hear your husband say anything or do anything to her before she started making those comments?
No.
All right. Is it unusual for her to start up arguments over the street or the property line?
No, she will often instigate the issues.
You remember what both parties said?
I couldn't tell you.
You remember what it was about?
Exactly. Well, after that, Rusty was obviously angry why she questions why we are still in the home that we've been in for several years now. So, and as far as the name calling, Rusty's, for the 20 some years that I've known him, he's always had kind of a foul mouth. And half the time, I don't even think he realizes that he's. Hey.
And did Miss Leatherman cuss at your husband?
Yes.
Okay. There's an allegation at that same time that you guys intentionally played derogatory music as loud as you could. Is that true?
No.
What music did you play and where did you play it?
Up in our little, in our party room. The music was a combination of everything, country. There was probably even some rap. Most of the time I try to get him to skip stuff I don't like. Okay. But I wouldn't consider anything derogatory.
All right. Did you intentionally play it loud to annoy Miss Leatherman?
No, Rusty's always liked his loud music.
Okay.
So it wasn't intentional. It's just the way he listens to music.
Okay. So this was not unusual in terms of how you conducted yourself with the music?
No, we go out there quite frequently and hang out. We have a bar area and stuff.
Okay.
So
it's
nothing out of the ordinary.
It's kind of a living area, bar area.
Yeah. Yep. We have a shuffleboard, dartboard, TVs. Okay. Mm-hmm.
There's an allegation that on May 5th, that your husband was driving his blue Bronco when Miss Leatherman and her dog were in the morning at the corner of Lyman Drive and 6 Mile, and he swerved at her and the dog and flipped her off. What do you know about that May 6th incident?
We were headed to another one of my son's shooting events. So Rusty was driving my Bronco. I was in the passenger seat and Riley and his girlfriend were in the back seat.
Okay.
She was walking. We all focused straight ahead. We really try not to interact with her. And as we went past her, she flipped us off.
Did you, or did your husband, if you saw, did your husband flip off his sister, Miss Leatherman?
No, not that I saw.
Did your husband swerve the car at her?
No.
What about any of the other allegations that you're aware of?
Other than the April 27th, when she claims that he swerved the black Lexus.
Okay.
The Lexus was not even at our home that day.
Okay. How do you know that?
I went back through my security cameras.
Okay. Do you have any independent recollection of that in terms of who drove what that day?
He would have been driving his F-350 and I was driving my Bronco.
Okay. There's an allegation he was making false allegations about her. What you indicated she moved into that property full-time or close to full-time at some time in 2023?
Correct.
All right. So if he were to allege that was not someplace she lived full-time in the spring of 2022, is that accurate, or do you disagree with your husband's assessment?
No, I agree. And he does do the tax comparisons almost every year. We own several properties, so to try to keep the property taxes down, he does comparisons quite frequently.
Okay. All right. There's an allegation about something happened late summer 2022 where your husband is alleged to have come out of the house yelling at her in her lawn service. Are you familiar with that allegation?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's a continuing allegation.
What happened then?
She has her lawn service mow, and it's not just the easement that she has. They go on our property to mow, and we've asked several times for them to stop.
So on that occasion, did your husband yelled at them in some form or fashion?
Yes.
Or did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever seen your husband do anything towards his sister that's not been related to the property line or her responding to her words towards him?
No.
Okay. When she does initiate something with regard to the property line or does say something to him, he'll respond?
Yes.
All right. And that's what you were talking about with the back and forth and the yelling and the cursing and everything else.
Correct.
And that's mutual back and forth between the two of them.
Yes.
All right. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schaefer, any cross-examination?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Were you aware that your husband made a complaint to the officials of the township about the taxes concerning his sister's home?
Yes, when he was doing the tax comparisons for the different properties, he said then that she had that house 100% homesteaded, and she wasn't living there.
So did he tell you that he was going to go to the officials and make complaint to them?
I don't recall exactly. I just know as he was doing the comparisons that he said that was 100% homesteaded.
So he didn't like that. So what do you think? What was your understanding of why he contacted the officials with that information?
Well, I mean, honestly, everybody should be paying the correct amount.
No. What was your understanding of your husband's reason for contacting the officials?
To get property taxes adjusted.
What sort of foul language have you heard your husband use towards Shan in these various arguments?
He has called her names when he's angry, but as I said, he has always had a foul mouth. Half the time, I don't even think he realizes when he is cussing.
Have you heard him call her a bitch?
Probably, yes.
Have you heard him call her a cunt?
Probably, yes.
Have you heard him say that see you in hell?
That one I don't recall, no.
And so this is common language that he would use toward her, is that correct?
In an argument, yes, probably. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Just as she's screaming derogatory remarks at us as well.
Well, how about you? Are you responding to her with derogatory remarks?
I'm sure in anger I have. When you video my children every time they're outside, I get.
So you got bad blood with her too, then?
Yeah, she's never liked me.
Okay. And you and your husband talked about your testimony today?
No.
Not at all.
I mean, I helped him figure out the dates and the incidents, but I would read her, what do you call that, petition?
Yeah.
I would read her petition to him, and then he would tell me what he recalled from that incident.
Well, has your husband ever told you that he scared the crap out of Shan by driving close to her on any of these occasions?
No.
And so the date of the incident of the beeping vehicle, you did hear it beep on that particular day, is that right?
Yes, before my son and I left for his shooting event.
Yeah. And for the time that you were gone, you have no idea what may or may not have happened because you weren't there, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And the keys were left in the house that your husband would have access to?
Yes.
Okay.
But he wasn't there. He was down working at our other property.
Wait for a question. I don't have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The music indication on May 24, was it being played loud?
Inside, it's kind of echoey, so it was loud to me, but I have no clue what it sounded like outside.
And how late was the music played on that particular date?
It was late, probably 1:30 or so. It was right before a long weekend.
All right. And was your husband drinking on that occasion?
Yeah, we had a couple of drinks while we were out there.
Okay. Were you intoxicated?
No.
Was he intoxicated?
No.
Are you employed?
Self-employed through our different businesses, yes.
Okay. And your place of employment is away from home or in the home?
I do both.
Who all lives at the home? Your home?
Rusty and I and our two boys.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Smith?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think probably what we'll do is conclude today with that testimony. I'm looking at, could you check your calendars and see what you have on?